If you're over 18,
I'll tell you. Good morning. Can I get everyone's attention? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for taking your time out today to join us for our, what is this, July Women of Color Host Committee meeting. Thank you again for taking time out of your day. I want to make sure you mark your calendars for the conference, October 5th through the 7th at Cobo Hall here in Detroit. And I just want to say that we are on Facebook Live. Hello, everybody out there watching. Hello to our Baltimore office, anyone who is tuning in online or via telephone. So thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and get the agenda started. We know everyone has a busy day, and we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'd like to welcome our national chair, who is Miss Monica Emerson. And if we could give her all a hand.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank all of you for coming. I think anybody who knows me knows how excited I am about this event. In fact, it's more than an event. The Women of Color STEM Conference is really an experience that changed my life from when I first came in contact with it over 20 years ago. We're going into our 22nd year now, and anything that keeps you connected for that many years consecutively, you know it's something really, really important. So what is it that keeps me coming back and keeps me connected to this experience? It's what we're doing for young women. What we're doing is really building a pipeline. It's so important. We know that STEM jobs are the future of this nation. And we know that these jobs that are in science, technology, mathematics, and engineering is what powers major corporations, major global initiatives, and clearly our country. Not just private industry, but the military, the government. And so we want to make sure that women who still are underrepresented in these fields, and particularly women of color, have an opportunity to understand what these jobs are about, to be inspired, to be excited, and to know that they have what it takes to pursue careers in this field. We know that a lot of young girls start off wanting to be engineers, and somehow along the way they're diverted. Sometimes it's in high school. Sometimes they even get into college as engineering majors, but don't graduate as engineering majors. They end up switching out. Even though they have the capability and the expressed interest. We know that sometimes they even graduate as engineers and go into the field, but somehow the environments are not conducive. And so what happens? They end up moving out of the professions. Well, the Women of Color STEM Conference is a community of dedicated professionals, individuals, companies, private, as well as public, governmental agencies, educational institutions, military, all coming together to say, we're going to change that dynamic. We're going to make sure that every young girl that has the capability and the interest to pursue a STEM career, in fact, is able to achieve her dream. And we know that this conference makes it possible. This conference, through our sponsors, many of whom are in this room, and we couldn't do it without you, have made it possible for us to bring students to the conference, to sponsor their way here, and ensure that they have role models that they can look up to. Women who have already been down the road that they desire to go down. Women that look like them. Women that may have even come from their neighborhoods that share the experiences that they share. that have experienced the frustrations that they have and probably will experience. That's why we do what we do. The reason that we have these meetings every month leading up to the conference in October, and we want to see every one of you here, and we want to make sure that every one of you understands that once you come in here, you're a part of our trusted community, and you have a responsibility to bring more people in. We want to grow this community. We were so happy when, after a little Detroit nudging, kindness, you know how Detroit kindness works, we got Tyrone Taborn, and we'll introduce him later, in the Career Communications Group to bring this conference to the Detroit area 3 years ago. That we're committed to keeping it here because it traveled all over the country. And since it's been here, the outpouring has been tremendous. But it's more than just workshops. It's more than just a career fair. It's more than just speakers. It's people who care and who care deeply about young women and their ability to succeed. I've told this story before, and like I said, it's one of the things that let me know that what we're doing works. When one of the award winners, and our gala award is the closest thing to the Oscars I've ever been to, when she walked up to the mic as a PhD to accept her award, and her opening remarks were, "Do you remember me?" And everyone in the audience sort of looked around at each other and shrugged their shoulders and went, "Oh, we really didn't know who she was, other than what was written in the program." And she said, "I was the little girl that sat in the back of this auditorium 15 years ago. And I said to myself, one day, I'm going to be on that stage getting an award." And I knew then that what we were doing was making a difference. So, you want to know why? With all this white hair, and I'm supposed to be retired, I still do what I do. It's because of those stories. And it's because of women like our next speaker, our guest speaker, Sharon Madison. Sharon is an extraordinary woman. She is, probably if I could start all over again, I'd like want to grow up and be her. But let me tell you a bit about her, and I don't want to shortchange her accomplishments by just saying, you know, I've known her for years and what a wonderful person she is. And she is that. She is a wonderful, loving, caring person that has one of the biggest hearts of anybody I know, who mentors young people, developed over 20,000 units in residential housing across the United States. They've been development consultants for major development projects, including over 700-acre plan on Detroit's Far East Side with residential units, commercial units, utility redesign, working in coordination with local, state, and federal agencies. The development of a 6-story building and adaptive reuse of the Julian C. Madison building. And a previous partner in the Long Madison focusing on hotel and real estate development. She's managed over $4 billion in construction projects. That's billion with a B. Okay, $4 billion. All of the design and construction projects for the Wayne County Metropolitan Airport for 16 years. The Detroit Public Schools Capital Improvement Program, the City of Detroit Facade Improvement Program for over 100 buildings, the Cleveland Browns Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, the Wyandotte Water Waste Treatment Plant, the Cleveland Public Power Distribution and Transmission System, develop the overall master plan of these projects, and to work hand in hand with financial consultants to develop financial structures and manage all the budgets to ensure on-time, in-budget performance, and always coming in within less than 3% change over the original rate. I mean, that's just outstanding. So, I mean, there is no wonder that she is an outstanding and accomplished professional and has been awarded so many awards, including the DAPSEP Real McCoy, Businesswoman of the Year for Detroit Black Chamber of Commerce, delegate to the White House Conference on Small Business, Michigan Chronicle Women of Excellence. I can go on and on. She graduated from honors from the University of Michigan, a Master of Urban Planning from the University of Michigan, a Master of Real Estate Development candidate from Roosevelt University, and she is a Woman of Color Entrepreneur of the Year. You know, I am so proud and humbled to call her my friend. This is the kind of woman we want to put in front of our young women to let them know what's possible and what we can do. So with no further ado, Sharon. Plus our mothers are in the same
Well, first of all, I just want to say hello to everyone. Thank you, Monica, for that introduction. I hope you didn't get too bored with so I've been around for a very long time. I brought with me today my niece, Angel, who I want to introduce. I'm very proud of. She's going into her junior year at Armstrong State University, majoring in marine biology with a 4.0. Really proud of her. And all of you. This is a really exciting time, and I want to thank Tyrone and his entire team for inviting me here today to talk to you a little bit about women of color and what it means to be in the STEM space, which everybody talks about all the time, but what does it really mean? And this morning when I was coming in here, I heard some really, really interesting news. The Afghan girls, the team of Afghan girls were admitted into the United States. They are a robotics team of high school students. And it was a very controversial thing in getting them in here. And when you think about Afghanistan and how they treat women in that part of the world, it's major that this group of young girls has a robotics team that's coming here to the United States to compete in an international competition. When we really think about, okay, what's happening in our local communities, they're coming from Afghanistan. What are we doing here? So it's an interesting thing. I think Verizon just completed a commercial where they asked a lot of young people, all of color, young women and young men that were in high school, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so most of them, well, matter of fact, almost to a T, they said, okay, well, I want to be an athlete. I want to be a model. I want to be an actor. I want to be a singer. And when they were asked, okay, well, why do you want these careers? I said, because they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. That's where you make the most money. So what was fascinating about this commercial was there was a wall behind them. And they asked them to turn around, each one, and there were literally thousands of careers that were involved in math and science, etc. Not just engineering, architecture, various computer sciences, marine biology, other areas that actually did pay you well over $100,000. Some of them in the $200,000, and they had never heard of these careers. So then the next question is, well, what do you want to do now? Well, you know, I might consider engineering, or I might consider this area. And so the whole thing is, if you don't know, you don't know. And part of what we have to do is to expose young people to the possibility of things that they've never seen or heard before. And when they are exposed to it, like robotics, then they start to envision a whole new world for themselves. Imagine being a young Afghan girl, where girls are actually killed, and their families are killed if they go to school, in many instances. And they face that, and they're coming to the United States to actually be part of something that is career changing and life changing. And so that's what we have to do for our young people, everywhere, starting wherever we are. The Women of Color Conference was probably, my first time coming was probably one of the most exhilarating experiences that I've ever had. Because first of all, there are thousands of women, and some men, but primarily women from all over this nation, and students, practitioners, people that are in corporations, people that are entrepreneurs, people that are academics. I've never seen so many Black and Hispanic and women of color PhDs in one location that are in fields that are related to math and the sciences, engineering, etc. And so what we have to do is to broaden that universe. Because if you don't know, if you've never seen yourself in one of these careers, it's hard to imagine being in one of these careers. But at the Women of Color, you see people that are actually doing so many exciting things. In the military, meeting generals that are female and women of color that have accomplished things all over the world that we never even ever hear about. And so when all that you ever see is what you see in a music video or in an athletic field, then you think that's all that there is. And the world is so much more than that. And it's the ability to be able to accomplish it is so much greater. When we look at any sports team, and I used to know, I don't know how many people were on a basketball team or a football team, but probably at most 25 people on any team, any professional sports team. Well, you know what? That's not a whole lot of people. And when we look at, okay, what are our opportunities to really be able to explore and to really contribute to the world, who we really are. If we don't know, we don't know. So part of what I see as a tremendous opportunity in this Women of Color Conference is to actually be able to see, touch, speak to, and actually envision yourself as being part of it. And as Monica said, the young woman that sat in the back of the room and saw what she could be and made up in her mind, that's what I'm going to do. Once you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. And so, we are in such a tremendous time that opportunities are available, but we have to make it possible for as many people as possible to be aware of this opportunity and be able to take advantage of it. So I think, in my career, I'm a third generation in engineering. My grandfather was an engineer. He graduated in one of the first class, I believe, at Howard University in 1922 as a civil engineer. Now, my grandfather was, by all accounts, a brilliant person. Yet he could not get a job as an engineer. So he traveled around to Black colleges and universities and taught mathematics and coached the football teams. And he had 4 sons. My father was his second son, who was also an engineer, and 2 of his other sons, 2 were architects, and the other one was a physician. So they all were in STEM-related fields. But my grandfather was not able to practice engineering. He was the first Black person to be hired by the federal government as an engineer. However, during the war, but back in those days, there was a whole thing that said last hired, first fired. So when people came back from the war, he no longer had a job. He moved his family to Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I grew up, and took the civil service exam, scored the highest of anybody that had ever taken that exam. But as an African-American male, he was not allowed to practice engineering, so they made him foreman of dirt streets, which at that time was the highest position that a black person had had with the city of Cleveland. And so, he had his whole career where, he had this talent, he had this ability, but was not able to really manifest. So his sons, my father and my uncles, formed the firm Madison. My grandfather was the first registered black engineer in the state of Ohio. My father was the third, and my uncle was the first registered black architect in the state of Ohio. And they actually, my father and my uncle were like first and second in many states around this country. And I say this to you because that is a big driving force for what I do. Because I'm now able to do things my grandfather was not able to do. And my father, his father, and my uncles paved the way, not just for me, but for many, many people. And so, we have to continue to pay it forward, to demonstrate what is possible, and then turn that possibility into reality. So I think that this particular conference, Women of Color Conference, where you're able to participate in seminars, you're able to participate in panel discussions, you're able to see honorees from around this country that have accomplished so much. Last year the movie Hidden Figures came out, and people were like, wow, I didn't know that. And yet there's so many stories like that we don't know. And this conference gives us an opportunity to see some of those stories in real time. So I am just very excited to be here. I am open to any questions anyone might have. I think that this is probably one of the best things that you can experience for anyone, because the sense of pride that you have when you listen to the stories that people tell about how they got to where they are. I was fortunate because there were people in my family that I could turn to and I knew, but that's not the case for everybody. And so when you listen to some of those stories and see how did they get there, it's just such a remarkable experience. And so I want to thank women of color. I want to thank the whole team that is working on this conference and has been working on it for years and years and has grown it to a size that is hardly imaginable. Thousands of people coming to Detroit to experience this sort of magnificent sisterhood of people of accomplishment from all backgrounds, all locations, and all walks of life that have come together because they have similarities in terms of their interest and their work and their commitment to being part of the future. And we are in a field of the future. So thank you so much for inviting me here today. I just wanted to
Thank you so much. I know we're pressed for time, but I always like to take advantage of someone like this and say, are there any pressing questions any of you have, or any comments you have before we move on?
Yes.
You went to school, went to Michigan?
Yes, I went to Michigan.
And who were your peers? I have a daughter that started engineering, she finished in IT, she's actually in the IT field now. But there were so many bumps with her, and this is not that long ago. She had so many stereotypes of the way that she was being treated, even in a classroom, by young men. So could you address some of those challenges of just being in the space of thinking science and math through college?
Yes, that's a very good question. And so as a student of, so again, I was fortunate. I had parents, I actually had grandparents that went to college. So, I was not a first generation as many people are, but it was still a tough experience for me. So when, and this is to tell you, and I'm not a natural at math. So I said, you can't overcome. So at the University of Michigan, there is a course called, I don't know if they still call it this, but when I was a student, it was math, it was called Math 115. Math 115 is beginning calculus.
Still there.
And it's still there? Okay. Okay. I feel for everybody. Yeah, so Math 115 was, you had to take it. Now, the word calculus brought tears to my life. I mean, literally. At the University of Michigan, you're in a lecture where there's literally thousands of people.
Literally.
And then, then you get into sections where, you turn your homework and then that's the sub-lecture. So, and I'm sure that this is primarily the case today, that in my section, all of the teaching assistants, because they were taught by teaching assistants, they were foreigners. They were from some place that I didn't understand the accent. And so here I am in a subject that I'm having difficulty with the subject. I'm in a class with somebody that cannot explain it to me. And literally when I walked to the door, my eyes would start burning and I start tearing up every single day. So in this class, there's only 2 grades that count. They give you quizzes every week. And there were only 2 grades that counted. That was your midterm and your final. So, with my eyes burning, I'd take these quizzes and I'd flunk every single one of them. And yet, some of my classmates who were white would say, they come out of class and, oh yeah, I aced that. And I'm like, okay. So I said, if I could just make it through the midterm. So, I studied very hard for the midterm. I took the midterm, and they graded on a curve. I got a B- on the midterm. So then I realized that a lot of these people were lying. So this is a problem that I think we have because when we leave high school, many of us are at the top of the class, and we get to a university like the University of Michigan, and unlike Armstrong, where my niece goes, this is a big place. 40,000 students. And as freshmen and sophomores, the whole thing is to weed you out.
That's right.
So and then kind of believe the hype. And so I've had so many examples where students that have been exposed to other things do better initially, but if you can stick it out, you can finish. So I think that's one of the challenges that we have, and that's why it's so important to find people like me that can kind of tell the truth, in terms of what their experience, or go and work with counselors instead of white, because there's no shame in getting some assistance when you're a student. As a matter of fact, that's what you're supposed to do. And but if we don't know, we don't know. So I think that is a challenge, and just one other example, I wanted to give on that subject is, okay, so now I'm a sophomore. I've passed 115, right? I'm in the counselor's office, getting ready to get my classes for next year. And this guy comes in to see the counselor. He's got to see a counselor right away. I got to see a counselor right now. Okay, well, the counselors are, scheduling. We have to make an appointment. Well, you all said we can walk in and see a counselor anytime. I got to see a counselor right now. Okay, well, what's the problem? Well, I got to drop Math 115. So why do you have to drop it? He said, well, I'm getting C's. So I'm like looking at him. I said, wow. That's a different quiz I took. I said, well, listen. It's like, I'm standing there. So I just turned to him. I said, well, Math 115 on the quiz, C is not bad, just coming out. He says, but I got A's in high school. I said, okay, that's high school, this is here. So, part of the challenge in college is really seeing it through. And that's what I tell people, is that you have to see it through. there was a friend of mine who had his daughter was in engineering, and she was ready to drop engineering. And he asked me if I would talk to her and kind of, just talk to her about it. So I hired her as an intern one summer, and I sent her, we were working at the airport, so I sent her to work with my engineers out at the airport. And when she left and she saw what her schoolwork was going to lead to, she was very excited about engineering. And she went back and she ended up being the president of the Black Engineer Society at the University of Michigan, and now has a PhD in engineering and teaches at Purdue. So sometimes we just have to get over that hump, and I think we have to teach our young people that before they start. That there's going to be bumps in the road, but you can get through it. You just have to stick it out.
I just had a quick comment, because what you're really getting to is that math is the foundation for all of this. There's no way of getting around it. But I wonder if you could speak to, I think one of the challenges is how math is being. I think that's the big challenge. And I love old school faculty. I do. When they just want to stand up there with a chalkboard, no whiteboard, for 50 minutes, and expecting students just to learn it that way. I wonder if you could speak to, some new strategies of kind of modernizing mathematics. You know what I mean? For example, there are faculty that I know, like at Lawrence Tech, that are teaching applying math to diabetes and those kinds of things. Because I think if young people can see that and say, okay, this is how this applies in my life, that maybe I can be a math.
Well, that's what I said. So I'm still not a mathematics whiz, okay? But I do not account money. So for me, as a business person, it became a lot more relatable, shall we say. But I'm not an academic, but I do know that people do learn differently. And so again, there was I became part of the advisory board of the College of Architecture and Urban Planning, which I'm a graduate of. And there was a faculty member who had basically piloted some things here in Detroit and how to use art to teach math. Mm-hmm. And I am probably more on the art side than I'm on the science side. And I realized that, so when we talk about STEM, I also believe in arts and culture being part of that, because you need to be a total program. They're calling it STEAM these days, right. But I don't separate the two. Right. But I do think that there's nothing like an old-fashioned foundation in math, and it just needs to be taught early enough in a way that people understand what the value of it is, and also because when I was coming up, they were talking about the new math. They went back to the old math. There's always a new way, but math is math, no matter how you want to work it. So I think really, as you say, when you can start to demonstrate how it's applied, when you can start to show, okay, well, when you're designing, I'm looking at some vehicle designs and which had a lot of science in it, but it also had a lot of art in it too. So that's so there are probably people that can better answer how to teach math, but I just feel like you do need to look at different ways in terms of how to apply that, et cetera, and seek people that have that experience. Because everybody in my family could do math. I was the only one that couldn't. So.
Well, it didn't seem to matter in terms of accomplishment. Again, we thank you so much. I know we could go on and on, but we're a little bit and we want to be respectful of time, but one of the things that is important is for us to know who's in the room. So I'm going to ask each of you to just very quickly, but very loudly, so everyone can hear, just sort of state your name and where you're from, so that we know who's here. And then, after we do that, I'd like to sort of bring up the individual who is really responsible for this vision for the conferences, and give him an opportunity to speak to all of you. So, can I just start here and have you go around?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicia Henry, and I'm with College Funding Resources and Freedom Equity Group. and this is my first time attending, and I have enjoyed it thus far, so thanks for the invitation.
Hello, I'm Sharon Henderson, president of Global Business Development Firm, adjunct professor. I was invited by Dr. Ray.
Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Randy Lou Franklin. I'm the owner of Interlingua, for your foreign language resource. And this next week, I'm going to be the recipient of the International Business Professional Award. So,
Congratulations. And then in your thank you remarks, you'll tell them all about the Women of Color.
I'm bringing people along.
Thank you so much.
As much as I can.
Jerome Buffington. I am the Business Development Manager with the Visiting Nurses of Michigan. Good afternoon. I'm Rudolph Davis, the Global Manager of American Acting Manufacturing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robin Kinney, and I am the founder of Women City Woman Radio. We are an internet radio station featuring all women-led lineup of show hosts, and we also have a strong commitment to increasing the number of women and girls in the audio engineering field.
Terrific. Welcome.
Arlene Daly, Business Development Manager for the University of Michigan.
Catherine Grady. I was a guest of Winsett WOC. I'm here from, I represent HPE Enterprises.
Thank you.
Rosetta Dolce, my first time being here. I'm an etiquette coach. I help people develop their communication and dining skills.
Wonderful. Thank you. Excellent.
Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Woodard, and I'm the lead science teacher at Newport Community High School.
Hello everyone, I'm Antoinette Cunningham. I'm one of the biology advisors at Wayne State University. I brought a group of my students here and they introduce themselves.
Thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Amy Hightower. I'm an incoming grad student at Wayne State University. We're actually here from Wayne State as one of the student orgs for Black and Latino students in biology.
My name is Vera Gray. I'm a mathematics major at Wayne State University.
All right.
I'm retired from high school. Our major is biomedical physics and doing
Terrific. Thank you for bringing the students.
Hi, my name is Ida Burko. I'm president of Uplift Inc. We host a series of events called Automation Works, which is a hands-on way to look at mathematics. There is a way to teach math that's applied only. Unfortunately, most students don't teach it that way. So if you want to learn more about that, see me.
She was one of our speakers earlier, did a phenomenal job, and we thank you. Thank you for that.
Hello everyone, my name is Tiana Dudley. I work for the Allen Lewis Agency. I'm here representing one of our clients, Continental, and they are a sponsor of Women of Color. I'm also a woman of color in STEM. I have a biology degree and a concentration in pre-medical sciences from Wayne State.
My name is Priscilla O'Neill, and I'm president of Summit Scholars, which is a college advising firm. So I work with students from high school to college, teaching them all those things about how to make it. I also attended the conference 2 years ago with my cousin. She is one of the first Black engineers that graduated from MIT. And so she came in and we went to the conference, and it's fantastic.
And so you'll be back this year?
I guess I will.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Ralph. I'm a IT manager for the St. Paul Head Start Agency. I'm also president and founder of the Detroit HBC Network.
Sabrina Collins, Executive Director for the Marburger STEM Center, proud graduate of Wayne State, I see where you did. Proud graduate of Ohio State.
Yeah.
My name is Erica Madison. I'm from Tech. I was invited here by Stephen Ware.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Johnson. I'm an account manager that supports the Detroit area with all their segments.
Hello everybody, my name is Derek Edgell. I'm Director of Business Operations at Aerotech, and I also struggle through math with you. I was sweating as you were talking.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christina Ware from Aerotech. This is my 4th conference. We're sponsored. Love coming, being a part of this. I'm a account manager. I support contract engineering for GM and Chrysler. So
We love Aerotech, and we thank you so much for your continued support, not only of Women of Color STEM, but also of the Black Engineer of the Year Conference as well. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Good afternoon. My name is Nana Danisoa Tansel, and I have a talk show on Radio 1. Now I'm going to be on Motor City Woman. It's a woman-owned show. I love supporting her, and I'm a host of a woman-owned show. And I also have, I'm also the president and founder. I'm nervous all of a sudden. So I'm also the president of Dental Marketing and Design Firm. Hi,
Detroit School of Digital Technology. I'm studying Java every day of my life. I'm trying to learn. I brought my son, he's 17. Just believe in starting him off early. I want to build a good career for him. And he actually inspired me. He was my tutor and coach, but he doesn't have a lot of patience with me. Robotics team. So I just want to bring him a wonderful people and know that there's something more than, like you said, the NBA.
Well, we believe in starting them off early too, which means you can't speak for him. So would you introduce yourself, young man? No, he can introduce himself.
I'm Kanan, and I'm here with my mom. She brought me here to help me meet all of these good people. And I hope to learn a lot while I'm here.
Thank you very much. We missed some people over here.
I'll start.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Randy Bullock. I was invited by a distant cousin, Dr. Table. And my claim to fame is basically I'm the one of 3 founders of the National Black Public Relations Society, and I'm a retired PR professional.
Randy and I have worked together for years. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you. Good morning. And young lady?
My name is Angela Cinteri. I'm Sharon's niece. I am a junior at Armstrong State University studying marine biology.
Thank you.
Hi guys, Jean Hamilton for Communications Group, and I basically am the person that is responsible for the operations of the Women of Color STEM Conference, among other things within the company.
She holds it together. She's just so hard. Thank you, Jean. You'll come to know her as the person the go-to person when you really need something done. Thank you. We have some other people around the board. Please.
I work for communication, and I'm one of the conference coordinators, and I'm also the coordinator for the pre-college program.
Hi. Edgar, I'm an administrator from and I have brought my school to the STEM program with Spanish County.
Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, Carrie Buffington, Business Development for the Women of Color.
Thank you.
Register, hello everyone, President Alvin Manager, CCG.
Okay. So now, it is my pleasure, and if there were drums in here, I would say a drum roll, please, to, thank you. See, we know how to improvise, right? To bring the person to you who is really responsible for creating the Women of Color STEM Conference. It was his vision years ago, before people used the word diversity and STEM, when he noticed and recognized that our youth were being really left behind. There was a huge digital divide. So many of our young people didn't have computers in their homes. They weren't exposed to the technology, and he knew that this gap was going to create a huge disadvantage for them. And so with this vision, and I'm shortcutting for reasons of time, he created these initiatives and brought people together from business and industry and military and education to ensure that we could begin closing the gap and creating opportunities to ensure that our young people would have an opportunity to compete, and to ensure that those who had succeeded, who had gone before them, would have a venue to come back to share their stories. Because hearing their stories make all the difference in the world in terms of motivating and inspiring young people. So, with that, man who pulled me out of retirement. Tyrone Tabor and Dr. G.
I have to tell you, first of all, thank you, Monica. You have been I'll say something. I just want to say this about Monica. Her commitment, her vision, what she stands for, the principles. What you see today is what I saw 30 years ago. When I went into Chrysler, and it was really interesting because somebody in these companies have to fight for you. Monica has been a fighter. Some of us become fighters after we've been fired, or after we've lost a job, or after something really bad has happened. But some of us are real fighters when we have something to lose. And Monica, throughout her career, has said, I'll lose this, but I'm not going to lose who I am and what I believe in. And that's truly a model for me. If I see something is wrong, I'll walk away, because sometimes some partners are just not ready to be your partner. That's right. And you cannot lose your soul, for some kind of short-term gain, because at the end, all of us, we have to look in that mirror. There's on your grave it says, when you started, when you end. That dash in between is everything you should be. And it's up to you to decide what that dash, what that means. And that's why, Sharon, I'm so excited that you were here today. We see you at the conferences, and you go on the stage, and you volunteer, and you do all of these things, but we don't have the time to really understand your story. And today was so powerful. I just sat there and tears were in my... they really were. This is one of my most favorite moments, to see the achievement, the stories, and what we've done. And I look at society, and it's so hard for me to believe that more than half the world, half the population that holds up this world is treated as if they're just third world citizens. I think what excites me about the women of color in technology is that we look and we see and we say, wow, look at all of these individuals that have contributed, and we've never recognized them. Not only are they working hard, like Jean, our president, who happens to let me be her husband for over 30-something years. Not only I can see not only does she hold the company together, she holds the family together. I think I'm working hard when I take the trash out. She will say, "Hey, take the laundry downstairs to the thing," and I take it and I put it downstairs. Unless she says put it in the washer, then take it out and put it in the dryer and fold it up. I said, but I took it downstairs. That's what you told me to do. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And over 22 years, this will be our 22nd year with the Women of Color in STEM. And I will just share this one quick story with you. I have heard from young woman after young woman who said she was ready to give up, ready to walk away. In one case, I even had a letter from a young woman who said she was going to commit suicide. This is a trusted community. It is not an event. You come here, you meet people, you live with people for the rest of your life. That's what Monica and I, we were part of its trusted community. I can think of no better place to be, for this conference to be, than Detroit. Yes. I think that there is I really do, I think that there is a spirit here. I look at this room, month after month, it's packed. And then the companies. I just have to say, Aerotech. Here, supportive, absolutely key. Monica, I may leave a couple of folks out, and I know you're a catchment. Consumers Energy, unbelievable support. out of the Consumer Energy, are one of our main sponsor. General Motors Corporation. We're so pleased that we've been in this building and part of the community. And DTE. I can keep going down the line. Continental, you're right. Monica, you might have to come back. Lincoln, Jackson, FCA, Ford, DTE. The business community has truly embraced the vision and the purpose. We are not an event. We are a movement to transform life. And I think that that's so important. So here's your role. Because there's a reason you're here other than lunch. First of all of our Facebook friends live, thank you. Spread this. Our friends on the webinar, I know we have a number of major corporations on the line. But here's your role. Go back tonight, get on social media, tell your friends to go to womenofcolor.net, encourage as many young people, professionals in technology to attend the job fair on Saturday, which is October the 8th. Show up on our community night, which is October the 6th, where we will be talking about women in business, entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship. It's going to be absolutely fantastic because I always remind people, slaves all had jobs.
That's right.
We all had jobs. The key is, are we able to create wealth?
That's it.
So we don't only want you to have a job and a career and all these other good things, but we want you to be able to create wealth. And so we're going to be dealing with a lot of that. So with that said, I really want to thank you. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I'd like to thank the team, the CCG team. They put their heart and soul into this. And we will see you in a couple of months. Monica?
A great luncheon. I thank all of you for coming. One minor correction, the job fair is October 7th.
Oh, thank you.
That's Saturday. I want you showing up on Sunday when it's all gone. So it's a free event. We want all of you to come down for that job fair, but we really do want to encourage students. The other partners, the colleges and universities from the Detroit metropolitan area that participate are just wonderful. Open University has been a primary sponsor of this. Wayne State has participated. University of Michigan, Michigan State, Lawrence Technological University. We've got great support from the universities. We want to encourage all of them to come. So if I didn't mention your alma mater, please reach out and get them to the conference. Thank you so much. Spend some time networking, enjoy some more lunch, and see you again in 1 month.
Northfield High School.